I'm absolutely overwhelmed by this amount of notions and knowledge rather than notions. It's knowledge and such a spatial and historic overview of the thoughts that bring us here. And thank you very much, Professor, because I think you really have crossed many territories and crossed the different cultures that are at stake also now in the, for example, in the managing of COVID-19 and in the way, and as a person that has a kind of long history in the Access to Medicines campaign, for example, you know, looking at all our engagement through the lenses of your presentation brings me a lot of important perplexities on what we do, and also a lot of a sense of entropy, because we are, it seems to me that most activism is all buying, is all siding with this concept of medicine that treats our body as an artifact, instead of considering the hypothesis that we should actually, you know, regenerate and remedy even our activism through maybe even a less confrontational antagonism with the pharma sector, simply because we have a different approach, a little bit like water, you know, water that adapts itself to a political conflict. And instead of insisting on it, we just choose other approaches that, by the way, as you mentioned, even the West cherished, even Western philosophies cherished in the past. And then they have kind of abandoned it, as it seems to me, but I'm saying it in, you know, very humbly. Even China is kind of abandoning them, because even China is, you know, is kind of steering itself in the face of the abundance and also the experience of the efficacy of the, you know, importance and the relevance of this approach, which is it's linked to the philosophical approach, to the cosmological approach, and to the an epistemic approach that actually brings so much truth in the circle rather than the line, in this system thinking and system nesting, instead of you know, individualizing bits of anything, the body, the processes, the things and the processes, which is clearly not functioning, which is clearly creating a further distances from the reality of things. Okay, so my aspiration and also the interest that I've well, personally, as a potential patient, I'm more inclined to this Chinese medicine. I practice Chinese medicine with my in my personal experience more than the biomedical approach, because I think it's it may have some good intuitions, but certainly it's suffering increasingly from a certain scientific autism that does not correspond to any sustainable effort. Yeah. So I do, you know, you said so many things, it's very difficult to grasp them all, but what really captured me very much, and I think it's this idea of a system, of an interconnection, of what you call the dyadism, no? Instead of instead of the binary approach that we have, the dyadism, which is, you know, my personal. I don't even dare to repeat the things or hint. You said so many things, but I do believe that COVID-19, this little circle at the center of your circles, this virus, which we continue to interpret in a war metaphor approach, it's actually our best life opportunity. It's our best system opportunity as well, because SARS-CoV-2, like all viruses, which are part of our life, which are part of our environment, I think is actually questioning the world in this tension between holism or reductionism, okay? And I think we have an opportunity with the COVID-19 to actually reorient our thinking, our glance, our visual and philosophical thinking towards holism, as it has been the case for a long time in most philosophical cultures, in all of them practically, because they had a closer sense to reality. Yeah. They had a closer sense of observation, because you might observe the famous stones that actually falls from the Tower of Pisa, where, by the way, I was born, so I know it very well. You can look at it in a holistic way or in a reductionistic way. You can look at the stone, and you gave a wonderful representation, even, you know, with getting off the plane and all of this, and really looking forward to hugging your relatives waiting at home. Or you can look at it, in terms of an organism, the stone wanting to go back to its own place of belonging, or you can look at it from an artifact point of view. So I think COVID-19 is advocating so powerfully that we should go back to the reality of things and to the cosmogony of things. But I must admit that we may be in this kind of, Gramscian interregnum at the moment. I think we are still, it's too early to say what COVID will produce, okay? What COVID will, the long-term ripple effect of COVID-19. But in this interregnum, when in the West we start cajoling a too hasty feeling that we are done with it, it's over, we're getting out of it, whereas the rest of the world isn't, and we are not either, because you live in the UK and you know very well, that uncertainty is still very much appending us. So we don't seem to learn these lessons. We don't seem to have enough of an opening of mind, enough of an approach of freedom of science to even consider and get back to the biodiversity of scientific approaches that we absolutely need. We have always needed, but we need now more than ever, because we know that the dominant hegemonic Western approach, the knowledge approach of the West, is actually not only misrepresenting reality in many ways, is not only giving an artificial representation of reality, but it actually does not lead us to the possibility of humankind continuing to exist on this planet. And because we can't exist on the planet, we definitely lose our cosmogonic, relationship even with the moon and the sun and the solar system. So we lose everything. We don't only lose our life, we lose so much more of this intercorrelation of entities, of which the human species is an important species, but just one, but an important one, precisely because, as you said, and as we know, we have this peculiarity of consciousness that allows us what other living beings cannot do: mathematics, philosophies, and writing, and knowledge, and languages, as you said. So I would stop here, because I really need also to kind of digest and really use the wood and the water and the earth, you know, I have to kind of trickle down in the different systems, in the different elements of the system, what you said. But in the light of what you said, I more than before even strongly believe that we need collectively the science community, the policymaker community, the activist community, the academic community, to make a fundamental existential effort at going back to that systemic knowledge, to that systemic epistemology that we had and that the Western has lost. But unfortunately, it is the Western at the moment that actually hegemonically colonizes all other models and marginalizes all other models. So you found your kind of diagrams in the PubMed, right? But you know, it will not be the dominant. It will not be the dominant narrative, scientific narrative.
That's right.
And it is actually a little bit, you know, looked as something old, 2000 years, but anyway, that does not long, it's not enough for us. No, it's exactly the opposite, okay? I just want to thank you very, very much for this terrific lecture, as Tungyi simply just referred to it. I wish, I mean, I'll definitely get into reading more of you, but we definitely needed to bring more of this into the West. And I would like to ask you, how much do you see the possibility of any, you know, biodiversity of science, biodiversity of approaches returning as a possibility in the face of this pandemic and the future pandemics, which in a way will be even more telling than COVID itself?
Yes, indeed.
Very much.
I am both optimistic and pessimistic at the same time. Pessimistic because the forces we have, you and I and like-minded people, have to overcome. I think those forces are immensely powerful, and it would be a very, very long haul. So I'm not overly optimistic on that front. However, I'm optimistic on a slightly different front, and that is, at long last, even some of the leading practitioners of biomedicine and biomedical biology and so on, they're tumbling to the fact that there is more than to the modern Western framework. For instance, I mean, Denis Noble, who actually had a Nobel Prize, now he wrote a little book a few years ago criticizing reductionism and praising holism. So you can see, you know, a glimmer of light there, that a Nobel Prize, and he beat his breast and he said, I have done enough reductionist science all my life, so I know what it is that I'm talking about. So you lot, please listen to this person who has changed his mind on that. So I welcome that with great delight. So that is one little shoot. Things take a long time, but that is a shoot. Now, another thing which I find very wholesome and comforting is that I've noticed that a few years ago, there is a new branch of medicine calling itself none other than ecological medicine. Ecological medicine, saying the same point as I'm now saying, I just said, right? More or less, I mean, not in my words, of course, but we are singing from the same hymn sheet, as it were. And so there you are, you see. At the moment, this ecological medicine is only, again, a small seedling, but it is there. It's being planted by some people who are fed up enough about the reductionist model being so hegemonic. And so they are fighting. So probably, I think, slowly, you know, we are going to it might take another 2 centuries. And also a quick repose to what you said in your earlier part of your comment, and that is that the Chinese giving up on this. Now, unless in some way it had, for the simple reason, as you yourself mentioned towards the end of your talk, because of the great hegemonic powers of the Western model, the Chinese felt that, you know, they have they cannot have the strength to stand up to it, and so they capitulated. They capitulated for about nearly a century, really, of 60, 70 years. But I think there is a slow comeback now, because as China becomes economically more stable, makes its presence felt a bit more on the global stage, it has won back its own confidence a bit. And so as a result, over COVID-19, a friend of mine whose husband practices Chinese medicine, you know, what I call classical Chinese medicine in Beijing, and he says that a lot of people now use Chinese medicine as a first medicine when they have to deal with COVID. So there is a change, you see. So I'm afraid that the fight back may be slow, but it is, so let's be comforted by the fact that it is there. And also, my friend in Beijing also tells me that a lot of young people are increasingly interested in Chinese medicine and in the philosophy of Chinese medicine. So I think as China regains its self-confidence in the world, it will no longer have that colonial mindset to the degree it did in the last 100 years or so. So again, I see that as a comforting sign.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed.
Ephraim, do you have something?
Thank you very much.
You are the moderator.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think we have no time to.
Oh, no more time, is it?
But I would like to just in 1 minute.
Yes.
Place one question on one issue, and tomorrow we can.
Yeah, continue. Maybe.
It's related with to the concept of the changes.
Yes.
And I think that after you expose brilliantly this concept, I think we need to. There is the modern approach. There is a modern approach to this concept, because the world we live now, we are living, is much more complex than the world of 2,000 years ago.
That's right.
The agricultural and the framework is completely okay. Let's see the weather changing, and the flood, also the rain. They have a very important role. And now we live in a world that is much more complex and toxic also. We have, for example, this case of diseases in the summer, someone showing signs of cold during the summer. Maybe this is caused by air conditioner. Someone that work 6, 10 hours inside an environment.
Indeed.
Condition. Maybe it's caused, the heat during the winter is caused by heating, artificial heating.
Oh, yes.
Or some food, some food addictive, or some visual pollution, or some PM 2.5.
Yes.
That's bringing heat to his lung. Pollution, air pollution.
Yeah.
Or maybe even something like someone in front of his office, he sees someone begging for $1 and please, I'm hungry, I need food. And this mix of emotions is causing heat inside his or her body.
Yeah.
So we have a much more complex word.
Oh, yes, indeed. Yes. Ephraim, sorry. I can't hear you very well again. Oh, that's better. Yes.
Very near the microphone.
Oh.
So you see my face very big. We even the doctors, is something that Nicoletta points out. Even some doctors, they are in Chinese medicine, they are losing this ability to grasp the changes. They are looking all time to the computer screen, and they don't have time to say the face of the patient, because the hospital demands that they input all the data of patient in front of inside the computer. So they have very few time to contemplate, to see the changes, to grasp these changes. And this is another question that I would like to place if Tungyi was here, that is related with the colonization and how we can, because I understand that, and as Nicoletta and you said, we need to decolonize, we need to break chains, but how we do it, this is a provocation, it's not a question, but how we do this in a world that is constantly recolonizing us. When we break one chain, we realize that there are 10 other chains, much more complex, using cryptography, military-grade cryptography, to break these chains. So we need to think about this, because I believe that it's possible to go further. But we need to realize, as Nicoletta said brilliantly, and you exposed it, that we are living in a world that is much more complex. And to solve some problems, we need to embrace this complexity. Instead, fight. We need to embrace, contemplate this, and try to see what kind of dialogue we can build, what kind of bridges we can build to find solutions. That's all.
Yeah. Well, a quick response to you, I would say, again, I have some pessimistic things to say as well as some optimistic things to say. I think we need to work on numerous levels, not simply on one level, but numerous levels in order to bring about change. So on one level, I see a bit of optimism there. It's because there are many conditions now which modern Western medicine cannot cope with. So the patients themselves become disappointed, right? So they stop using that medicine and they look for alternatives. One obvious alternative people nowadays look towards would be Chinese medicine. So I think this is not, this is a growth area, If you look at the statistics, the number of people in the world who are increasingly using so-called alternative medicines and constantly increasing. So there's hope there. And of course, at other levels, as an academic, I can only contribute at a mere intellectual level, but other people who are more activist-minded can contribute at another level. So we need all these levels in order to, get the thing going. And as I say, once things get going, maybe synergistically, the end effect will be far greater than just simply each one of us acting on our own. Yes.
Thank you very much. Maybe tomorrow we can continue, because it's already 6 minutes past 9. So,
Xiaomei, do you want to say something? No.
Okay. So maybe we can finish now and continue tomorrow.
Yes, because we have had quite a fair time, haven't we? Well, thank you, everyone.
The questions for the audience, we can continue tomorrow also.
Yeah. Okay. Now, tomorrow, very quickly before we end, what I hope to do is probably to bring out some of the methodological implications of this kind of medicine at the level of diagnosis and treatment, right? To bring it more down to earth. I've been sort of at a high level of abstraction today, so maybe I'll bring it a little down to earth tomorrow. Okay, so well, thank you everyone, whoever you may be or wherever you may be, and have a good night and good day the rest of your day. See you all tomorrow, one hopes. Bye-bye.